Good morning, everyone. My name is Isabelle Benezet. I'm a GEO Principal for France at the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. I welcome you to this EuroGEO Workshop 2021. As you can see behind me, we are almost in Paris, but not quite, unfortunately. There is some sound problem, Gail told me. It's fine. Well, almost in Paris, like I said, but we haven't had a real workshop for 2 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm very happy to see the whole EuroGEO community here today. Without further ado, I give the floor to Mrs. Claire Giry. Claire Giry has been appointed Director General of Research and Innovation at the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation in June 2021. A doctor in molecular and cellular biology, trained at the École Normale Supérieure in Lyon. Claire Giry was responsible for developing national, European and international partnership at the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission and the French National Institute for Health and Medical Research and INSERM. She was also technical advisor for the Prime Minister for Higher Education and Research between 2007 and 2009. She then became head of the Joint Department of the General Directorate for Higher Education and Professional Integration and the General Directorate for Research and Innovation of the Ministry of Higher Education and Research. She was in charge of territorial issues and the implementation at the first Programme d'Investissement d'Avenir, PIA. Claire Giry then directed the Centers of Excellence program of the French General Commission for Investment before joining INSERM in 2012, where she held various positions before being appointed Vice CEO. Claire, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Isabelle. Good morning to everybody. Dear Deputy Director General of Research and Innovation for the European Commission, dear representatives of the Earth observation community, I want to welcome you today for the Euro Workshop 2021 that we have prepared with and on behalf of the European Commission. This workshop should have been held, as Isabelle said, in Paris at the Ministry of Higher Education and Research if the COVID-19 situation had allowed it. For the European community, this week is an opportunity to share our experience for the benefit of the global goals of the Group on Earth Observation is supporting. We must learn more about the Earth system to fight with the best knowledge accessible against climate change and biodiversity loss, against natural disasters and for a sustainable development. Moreover, we must address these challenges together with a global and regional consistency. It is the EuroGEO Workshop's purpose to bring all the regional Earth observation community together to go further. France has a long capacity in bringing people together. Being part of Europe, France is participating in ambitious initiatives in the EO sector, such as the E-Shape project within the EuroGEO initiative. This week should allow you to discover the diversity and the multiple facets of this European project. France strongly supports GEOSS strategy for climate change mitigation, natural disasters risk reduction, and sustainable development. France plays an active role to support GEOSS' effort regarding climate change for the Paris Agreement, in particular through the One Planet Summit. In this fight for climate change mitigation, Earth observation data are essential to advance knowledge on the climate system and its interactions with the biosphere, including human activities, studied by Data-Terra research infrastructures, but also to monitor climate changes with initiatives such as the Copernicus Climate Change Service, and to assess its impact on sectors of activities and on territories, as the Space Climate Observatory is aiming to. the Space Climate Observatory was officially launched by President Emmanuel Macron at the Paris Air Show on June 17, 2019. 2 years after its official launch within the One Planet Summit framework, the Alliance is now well anchored in the international landscape with 33 partners, 4 international organizations, ESA, UNOSA, UNDP, UNEP, and 29 space agencies representing their countries. The Space Climate Observatory is aiming at studying and monitoring the impacts of climate change, especially at local scales, using satellite-based Earth observation tools in combination with field data and models. In this way, it will complement and extend existing initiatives, boosting them at national and local scales. This objective will be grounded on 4 pillars: transparency of its actions, of data use and provided, local capacity building, sharing of knowledge, and effective applications. In 2 years, the score has enabled 43 projects to be labeled, including 7 international projects, China, Mexico, Morocco, and ESA, and 36 projects led by the score France spread over 65 geographical sites. The prospect of a renewed commitment of members around an international charter, currently being drafted and to be signed at COP26 in early November, whose General Secretariat would be carried by UNOSA, is very inspiring. The SCO is now a GEO community activity and is willing to deepen its relations with other GEO initiatives to enhance globally the GEO ecosystem and tools for climate actions. France also hosted the IUCN World Conservation Congress in Marseille from 3 to 11th of September of this year. We are convinced that biodiversity is undergoing increasing alterations caused by climate change and various pressures of anthropogenic origin. French research contributes significantly to the increase of knowledge on the state of biodiversity, on the understanding of its dynamics and its future, as well as on the evolution of the services from which humans benefit, whether at the national, European level or elsewhere in the planet. Biodiversity is studied in a descriptive or functional manner using a variety of approaches, ranging from naturalistic observation of ecosystems of high resolution imaging and genomics in their more diverse technological variations. The French National Biodiversity Pole ensures access to and use of biodiversity data and must enable France to contribute at the highest level to the answers of biodiversity issues, both scientifically and politically. IPCC, IPBES, IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and so on. Located throughout France and also in many overseas, subpolar and polar territories, intertropical areas and southern countries, French infrastructures are widely distributed spatially, which give France a privileged role on the study of biodiversity in all environments, marine, coastal, and continental. France has decided to make open science one of its scientific priorities. On 6th of July, the Minister Frédéric Vidal announced the second national plan for open science in France. It's a very ambitious plan that addresses open science as a systemic issue and not as a technical issue. This second national plan extends the scope of the first plan to include source code from research, promotes data sharing and openness through the creation of a national research data platform called Research Data Gouv, increases the number of transformative levels available to generalize the practice of open science. It is firmly attached to an international vision, and in the context of the French presidency of the European Union at the beginning of 2022, it proposes to act in favor of open science being effectively taken into account in both individual and collective assessments for research. This involves initiating a process of sustainable transformation in order to ensure that open science becomes a common and shared practice, encouraged by the whole international ecosystem of higher education, research, and innovation. The plan triples the national budget for open science that we dedicate to this subject because we need to build new services, create new infrastructures, and train more people to open science. In the context of the French presidency of the European Union, we organize a European Open Science Conference at the Académie des Sciences in Paris on 4th and 5th of February. This conference will propose to create an international coalition focused on training and taking open science into account in the assessment of researchers, projects, and research institutions. I thank you for your attention and wish you a very fruitful meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, for this clear presentation of the involvement of France in activities related to Earth observation and GEO. We will now listen to Mr. Patrick Child. Patrick Child is Deputy Director General in DG Research and Innovation at the European Commission. He leads the policy for implementation impact and sustainable investment strategies. As member of the board of DG RE, he follows in particular research and innovation in clean energy and climate technologies, as well as the RE dimension of the post-COVID recovery and resilience strategy. He is a Commission representative in mission innovation and currently chairs the MI steering committee. He is also the Commission representative in the International Group on Earth Observation and lead co-chair of the Executive Committee for 2021, as well as mission manager for the Horizon Europe mission on cancer. Until April 2016, Patrick Child was Managing Director of the European External Service with responsibility for administration and finance, covering human resources policies, security, and the budget. Before he took up the post in 2011, he was Director in EC External Relations, Director General, in the responsible for managing the network of Commission delegations. He was previously served as Head of Cabinet for External Relations Commissioners Benita Ferrero-Waldner and Chris Patten. With background in the UK Finance Ministry, he joined the European Commission in 1994, where he started in the Economic and Monetary Affairs Directorate General, before becoming Commission Press spokesman for Economic and Monetary Union from 1995 to 1999. Mr. Child studied mathematics at Cambridge University. Patrick, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Isabelle, and thank you for that very comprehensive presentation of my biography. And I'm very happy to welcome you and Claire and others on behalf of the European Commission. And I'm delighted that despite the continuing challenges of the current situation, that we've managed to organize this virtual roundtable for the European Earth observation community. And I'd like straight away to thank our hosts and co-organizers for the event, the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation, and Mines Paris PSL. I'd also like to thank my colleagues from the Commission's Research Executive Agency for their excellent cooperation in preparing this event, which is already the 14th edition of the EuroGEO Workshop. And this year, our focus is going to be on environmental observation-based solutions to support the European Green Deal, while bringing also the European community actively contributing to GEO together. And this promising endeavor dates back to 2017, when, together with European GEO representatives and the Commission, the EuroGEO initiative was launched in Washington, D.C. And the key words which have framed our work ever since, I think, are coordinate, cooperate, and combine. And these principles are also very present in the workshop that we have today. EuroGEO builds on the data and services of the Copernicus program and is an attempt to add value to the Copernicus program and deliver services and products complementing what Copernicus can already deliver. And so to reinforce cooperation within EuroGEO, I'd like to raise three key points today, which I hope will demonstrate how research, innovation, and space assets can propose innovative solutions to address the challenges our planet is facing. So my first point is about the importance of tackling the challenges that we're facing together, working in cooperation across the European and global Earth observation communities. Secondly, the importance of research and innovation in space in delivering concrete outcomes and solutions. And thirdly, the importance of our work through GEO in delivering for Europe a global perspective and a global cooperation community. So on my first point about the need to tackle challenges together, strong cooperation is absolutely vital within the European environmental and Earth observation community. And I'm really convinced that EuroGEO is a perfect opportunity to deliver workable solutions to the global challenges we're facing, whether in climate change, energy security, biodiversity, and agriculture. Earth and environmental data, when combined with other sources of data, can provide highly valuable information to assess and predict the state of the European environment. And according to one recent estimate, in the field of environmental observation from satellites, this is something which is growing very, very fast and is expected to rise from its present value of $2.9 billion a year to something like 25 billion by 2040. And we see, therefore, an increasing number of new players proposing access to data and services, for example, with increased resolution, almost daily revisits, and small satellite constellations. And these all offer new opportunities for analytics and techniques to measure floods, change detection, vegetation growth, and other relevant areas. We also see, and I welcome this a lot, an increasing number of NGOs and citizens that are seeking solutions from Earth observation to a whole range of issues. These actors don't necessarily have the resources to train analysts and process data themselves, but are very interested in getting the insights and knowledge that Earth observation data can produce. And I think that EuroGEO has an opportunity to help us reach these communities, to understand their needs and ensure that technological progress can benefit these the widest possible user communities. And I think this should be a framing mission for EuroGEO in the coming years. And in order to achieve it, I think EuroGEO needs further to engage in collaboration with the Copernicus program and with our partner country organizations. And that brings me to my second point, which is the importance of research and innovation and space programs in delivering the solutions that we need. Environmental observation services build on years of research and innovation, making the best use of the rich sources of data knowledge that we have available. And just as we are now embarking on the first period of our new European Research and Innovation Programme, Horizon Europe, we have opportunities to take this collaboration even further. With a budget of 95 billion euros for the period 2021 to 2027, the Horizon Europe programme will support research and innovation projects to strengthen our capacities and preparedness to tackle things like big climate, biodiversity, environment, and energy challenges. And in the first set of Horizon Europe calls for proposals, which were issued by the Commission in June, some of the topics include monitoring critical ecosystems and biodiversity loss, as well as tools to support the uptake and accessibility of environmental observation information. And more will come when further dedicated calls for pioneering research and innovation projects are launched under the new Horizon Europe missions, including the mission on climate adaptation and the ones on soils and oceans. I'd also like to mention the Agriculture of Data Partnership, a new partnership that will offer possibilities from data technologies in the field of environmental observation to improve the sustainability of agriculture. As with the missions, we expect many of the new Horizon European partnerships to benefit from Earth observation data and services. So backed with this very strong European research and innovation program, I'd like to finish my remarks today with a comment on and it's my third point, on the importance of global collaboration and how EuroGEO helps us to connect with the wider Earth observation community internationally, and therefore secures Europe the much needed global perspective in this field. So EuroGEO initiatives operate in a global context, and international partners can contribute significant data and knowledge that can benefit us also in Europe. Earlier this year, the European Commission has taken on the role of lead co-chair of the global group on Earth observation, and together with the GEO community, we've identified a number of priorities, in particular to strengthen further regional GEO organizations. A key priority is to highlight and showcase examples of global cooperation, but also to use and benefit the assets offered by GEO and its members. And here we are very keen to seek reinforced cooperation between different regional groups, for example, in demonstrating applications and pre-operational services used in a vast range of areas. A major challenge remains the difficulty to process information from different sources, whether space-based, airborne, including drones, in situ, and bottom-up citizen observations, and bring this data together with other relevant knowledge and information. Thanks to the open data policy of Copernicus and the GEO data sharing and management principles, EuroGEO has progressed tremendously on access to data. However, I think we would all recognize that there are still challenges in terms of access to data, particularly in situ data, where there are residual barriers limiting our capacity to take advantage of the huge potential that is there. And that's why I'm very happy to see that the GEO Canberra Declaration and the midterm review that has been carried out in 2021 are also highlighting the need for GEO to improve availability and integration of in-situ data. And against this background, I'm delighted that by the progress that's been made by the GEO in-situ subgroup with the drafting of a new strategy in this area under the leadership of the European Environment Agency. And a first outline of this strategy will be presented to the next GEO plenary in November. And once implemented, GEO, we hope, will become the world's leading organization in coordinating availability, access, and use of in-situ data to support sustainability goals and informed decision-making. And I believe that EuroGEO will benefit also very strongly from this. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, and again to welcome you to this very important EuroGEO workshop, I believe that EuroGEO can face reinforced collaboration. Through reinforced collaboration, the challenges that we are facing and challenges ahead. The Commission is confident that we are well equipped with the new landscape of Horizon Europe's research and innovation implements. EuroGEO is a key vector in delivering global cooperation in this field, and we believe that the further uptake of space assets will offer rich and exciting possibilities to the European Earth observation community. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you well for the rest of the seminar.
Thank you, Patrick, for this presentation and for your support and your commitment over the years to EuroGEO and GEO activities. It is definitively one of the keys to our success in Europe, so thank you very much. Now, I'm happy to welcome Mrs. Yana Yiborian, newly appointed Director General of GEO Secretariat. Yana Yiborian is the new Director of GEO Secretariat since the 1st of July 2021. She's an expert in international relations whose career spans humanitarian relief and development, international think tanks, and government organizations. Prior to her selection as the next director of GEO Secretariat, Mrs. Yiborian was the GEO Program Manager at the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrations. She had represented the United States to GEO in many capacities, including as a co-chair of the GEO Program Board until May 2021. As a member of the United States delegation, Mrs. Yiborian spearheaded several key initiatives in GEO, including the landmark policy on GEO Associates, the GEO Awards, and GEO Pledge campaign. Yana, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Isabel. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's really such a pleasure to be here joining you. I think it's my first time joining actually EuroGEO workshop. Thank you to the organizers, the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation for pushing through regardless of all of the difficult circumstances and putting this event together. I will say that Patrick set things up nicely in terms of the priorities that we're facing today and the timing of where we find ourselves. We are 3 years away or so, no, 4 years away. I won't rush the time. We're 4 years away from the end of our current 10-year strategic plan. And we had set quite high ambitions in that 10-year strategic plan. Ultimately, we wanted to be sure that the work by the GEO community that has been steeped in science, research, and innovation is in fact being taken up and used by the various decision makers in the various end user communities. And so if we can think of the first 15 or so years of GEO as being this marathon where we've been progressing at this steady pace of research and innovation, developing tools and capabilities. Right now, I think we are finding ourselves at the spot in time when we need to start the sprint in order to be able to achieve those objectives and the goals that we had set out in our 10-year strategic plan, and also begin to envision what GEO 3.0 will be all about. And from our perspective, I think accelerating action in GEO, and frankly, that is going to be the theme of GEO Week 2021. Our ability to accelerate this action really means that we need to step up our pace in parallel lanes. One is really communicating the policy relevance of the products and the results of the GEO work. And it is to no small contribution from this community of European actors that we have been able to develop the mass of this research and science work that is currently producing tools and services and applications that can be utilized to affect policy decisions across a variety of societal benefit areas and across a variety of policy agendas. But we still need to hone our skills and ability to communicate the policy relevance of these outputs from our work to those policy communities. And in there lies one of the challenges for GEO, is to connect and engage with those operational agencies, operational ministries, ministries of agriculture, ministries of forests, ministries of environmental protection, etc., in order to have them really understand the value of the work coming out of the GEO work program. So that is one lane. Along the next lane, we also need to be developing the guidance on how to apply and use and implement the tools and services that are coming out from our work program that actually represent the body of open knowledge. And open knowledge is what we are really developing within GEO with the application and implementation of the data sharing and data management principles, FAIR principles, with addressing legal interoperability issues between the various data licenses, and with our space arm of GEO with GEOSS, our emphasis on analysis ready data. All of these are the enabling conditions for open knowledge in GEO. So our ability to develop as many tools and applications to be compliant with these principles of open knowledge, making them available through the various platforms, regional platforms, global platforms, including through this developing GEO Knowledge Hub, and then communicating the policy relevance of all of these solution-ready tools and services is really the space in which we need to accelerate action in order for us to achieve our ambitious strategic goals and objectives. One of the examples of current activities in which we're trying to really align GEO's work with high priority policy needs is in fact the workshop that will be taking place this week is the GEO Climate Policy and Finance Workshop, which actually starts tomorrow and takes place over tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. And I really hope many of you have already accepted the invitation to join it and have registered for it. During this workshop, we will be discussing the relevance of GEO work program activities to climate action. On day one, it will be about national climate action and how GEO work contributes to it. On day two, we will be looking at how GEO contributes to our collective climate ambition. And on day three, which will be on Thursday, for the first time, we will be engaging with the community of climate finance. Because in the end, climate action at the national level and all of the sustainability agendas are really going to highly depend on the country's abilities to gain access to finance. So our conversation, including with the finance sector and the various financing bodies, is going to be really key in the next several years if we are to see the uptake of Earth observations in implementing sustainable development. So if you haven't registered for the workshop, I really encourage you to do so. It will be a very interesting time indeed. And all of these themes that I just talked about, they are going to find themselves in the GEO Week, which we are currently designing and constructing with participation of so many of the individuals that I see are now on the line. So I thank you very much for being key participants. And I really look forward to working more closely with all of you to translate the outputs of the work from the EuroGEO and European activities into sort of the massive open knowledge that GEO is collaboratively putting together for the benefit of the global community. The massive and fantastic know-how and the capabilities that exist within within the purview of the European actors have a huge potential to bear great benefit to the most vulnerable communities. And that's really what GEO is all about, is extending the benefit of the developed activities to the communities that need them the most. And oftentimes they are the low and middle class, middle income countries, most vulnerable and marginalized communities. So again, I thank you very much for all the work that you are doing on behalf of the global GEO, for your steadfast leadership in applying Earth observations to user-oriented solutions. And together, I hope we can increase the return on this public investment by the European actors. And I will turn this over to Isabel.
Thank you, Jana, for this clear and enthusiastic presentation of your vision for GEO. I'm convinced that your energy and your dynamism will give GEO a new impulse. Thank you very much. Now I think we move to the agendas we move on today's agenda. I think, no, it's not, we don't have the presentation of the agenda. No, so we move to Mrs. Nancy Vermeulen. Nancy, yes, thank you for the agenda. Just a little bit late, but it's fine. So as you know, now we will listen to the talk of Mrs. Nancy Vermeulen, followed by the Q&A session. We will resume after the 10-minute breaks with 6 short presentations divided in 2 sessions. The first session, a fast evolving space environment, will propose some key messages for the future. And we will continue with example of France support to Earth observation that will introduce some initiatives led by France for the benefits of GEO and Earth observation. As the schedule is very tight, I ask the speaker to respect the timing on this second part. They have 5 minutes each, so it's very important. And finally, Erwin Gore will present the schedule for the next few days. So let's move on to Mrs. Nancy Vermeulen. Nancy Vermeulen has always been fascinated by space. She studied astrophysics and became an airline pilot instructor. She took part in the ESA astronaut selections, led a Mars simulation expedition, and later founded her own space training academy. There, she prepares private astronauts and suborbital scientists for their first journey into space. As a true space ambassador, she aims to bring the universe closer to the people and vice versa. Her book, Everyone an Astronaut, has been published by Lanu in April 2021. Nancy, floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation, and always nice to share my passion about space with such an interested public. Isabel, can you see my screen in presentation mode?
Yes, Nancy,
That's
but
fine?
it's not presentation mode, it's a speaker mode, I think.
It's speaker mode, okay. Let's switch it now.
So Erwin told me it is not in presenters mode, but we see the next slide. We will enter. Yes, it's fine. It's perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Imagine how it would be like to float into space and have such a beautiful view on planet Earth. Will it be science fiction? Maybe yes, maybe not for some of you. But as we have seen last week in the news.
Sorry, Nancy, we only see the globe in the image beside you.
That's fine.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
This is what you need to see, the globe, huh?
Okay, thank you. It's my mistake.
It would be fantastic to have a look at the planet Earth, right? And I want you to realize during this talk that we are already astronauts on planet Earth. And all of us, we are traveling at a dazzling speed around the center of the sun at 100,000 kilometers an hour. And together with our sons, with our brothers and sisters, other planets, comets, asteroids, we are traveling together with the sun around the center of the galaxy at 800,000 kilometers an hour. The only thing that we forget is to look outside and to look outside the window and have this magnificent view. Because when we look outside the window, we see the Milky Way and we see how beautiful the sky is. And people used to ask me, how comes that you are so interested in space? And then I answer people, how can you not be interested in space? Look at this. Look at it. It's so beautiful. But the only thing is we forget about this view, because when we light up at night, our environment, we have light pollution. But at very clear, dark nights, we can see this. And as a small girl, I was looking up at this and I saw myself in my imagination taking a spaceship, traveling around some planets, and then have a picnic at another place on Earth, and on the same day traveling back home. And I thought later, when I'm a grown-up, traveling into space will be as normal as taking an airplane, because people will need pilots to fly to space and come back. But this was a little bit too optimistic, I think. At school, I was already designing spaceships. I was an alien, but I had one alien friend, and together we were dreaming about becoming an astronaut. And when I was 17, I met my first real hero. Most of you, I think, know him. It's our first Belgian astronaut, Dirk Vliemhout. And I used to ask him, what do I need to study in order to become an astronaut? And he told me, listen, I was a mission specialist for NASA. I went to space on a short-term mission. I'm a specialist in Earth atmosphere. But if you want to make an opportunity in the future for the European Space Agency, I recommend you to study physics or something else strongly scientific, and later also gain some operational experience. And by that time, there was a lady, Marianne Mercier, who was also applying for the European Astronaut Corps. It was in 1992. So now I had a plan. I would study astrophysics and later become an airline pilot. Marianne Mercier, she was a medical doctor and also an airline pilot at Sabina. People didn't take me very serious, especially because at school I was only an average student because I had my head in the sky. I had to survive in a very conservative environment. Let's say when I was growing up, the most important thing as a girl was, we could do education, of course, but the most important goal was to find a very successful husband and to be a driving force behind him. If you had an ambition for yourself, it was not really encouraged. It was really not so easy. But anyway, I studied astrophysics, and let's say that my environment was thinking, you know, let her dream. In 5 years, she will find somebody and you will not hear about that dream anymore. But after my studies in astrophysics, I wanted to become an airline pilot, which was quite challenging because to become a pilot, you need to pay a lot of money. It costs today 100,000 euros. And yeah, we in Europe here, we are used that if we study at the university, our studies are paid by the government. We just pay an entrance fee, but we don't pay for the buildings, we don't pay for our teachers. In other countries, for example, the United States, it's normal that you also pay for your teachers, for your material. And becoming a pilot was a kind of private education. So in order to get this loan, my parents had to get a mortgage on their house in order to let me become an airline pilot. I studied at Sabina, and when I finished my studies, let's say that it was difficult to find a job. I had to become a pilot on place 36 on the waiting list and to wait almost a year before I would get hired at Sabina. So I applied for a job at DHL, a cargo company, and people started a little bit looking down at me like, come on, you're not going to apply for a cargo company, flying packages, if you can get a job at a high-level company like Sabina. But I followed my intuition. I just took the job because a couple of months later, we had 9/11. A lot of companies went bankrupt, and at least I had a job. I was able to pay back my loan. And the job was just fantastic. It makes no difference if you're flying cargo or passengers. It's the same job, the same level. And let's say after 2 years, I also had the opportunity to fly at Africa and the Middle East. And during the second Gulf War, DHL started looking for volunteers to fly cargo. Indeed, during the second Gulf War, from Bahrain to Baghdad and back. I'm a girl, I want some adventure, so I thought I'm going to volunteer for this kind of missions. And this was just like Top Gun. You fly in at an altitude of 5 kilometers, and in a kind of corkscrew maneuver, you have to land this beautiful Airbus 300, 150 ton, purely visual. It didn't last for a long time because after 2 missions of 14 days, let's say my colleagues were shut down by a shoulder-launched missile. I'm not going to tell the story in detail, but if you're planning to take the aircraft, the day before you're planning to travel, I recommend you to watch aircraft investigation to get a little bit easier. And then you can find the story Airbus 300 hit by a missile, DHL. But let's say this kind of experiences brought me a little bit closer to possible applications of the European Space Agency. In the meanwhile, I was also doing some deep sea scuba diving, mountaineering, and I had to wait quite a long time before I was able to apply. In 1992, you had the selections, second part of the selections where Marianne Mercier was part of. But I had to wait until 2008 before finally the opportunity arose that 6 places became available. By that time, I've been working so hard because I wanted to pay back the loan. I was not only working for DHL, I started to take side jobs, teaching as well, I started also a PhD at that time because I thought that not having a PhD was anyway something that would exclude me from the selections. In 2006, I got a serious mental and physical burnout, and this was the end of my flying career. Let's say that we are not trained to counteract the mental challenges, especially as a woman, where you have to prove yourself and showing some weaknesses or possible weaknesses. You don't want people to say, we told you, you know. So then I started some reflection at that time. And I realized that becoming an astronaut was really something challenging as overcoming my illness at that time. And by looking back after World War II, I realized that the generation of my grandparents who built up the whole world after World War II looked down at me like, why are you complaining like a spoiled child that you didn't become an astronaut while there's so many things to do? The reason that we are not all astronauts today is just because it's not there. That if something doesn't exist, it doesn't mean that you cannot become one of the pioneers building the road to there. After World War II, you had, of course, the Cold War. You had the two main players, the former Soviet Union and the United States, who wanted to have top access to space for geopolitical reasons. And then, of course, after after the Cold War came to an end, you also saw that human exploration in space just decelerated. Didn't stop, of course, with this beautiful collaboration of the International Space Station, but the way that we collaborated was shifted from military-driven purposes to more civil-driven purposes and scientific-driven purposes, which is also accelerating, but at a slower pace than we were used to at the 60s and the 70s. Okay, I got my medical license back. I did a lot to just come back, become healthy, and of course, to come back on that level was very difficult because once you have a stamp on your head like a failed or burnout or whatever, it's very, very difficult to come back. I had to travel the world to find a doctor who wanted to declare me medical fit, but I applied. I survived at the selection round 2008, 2 rounds, and then it stopped. But at that time, I learned so much that I started taking my own initiatives in space exploration. Even if I realized I would not become a professional astronaut, I started organizing a Mars conference. And in 2008 again, I started an initiative where I brought together a lot of scientists from all over the world at the University of Antwerp to talk about Mars. Mars general about human space exploration, but also geological exploration, the engineering challenges, and so on, which was quite an adventure because in 2008 people were a little bit were not very serious when it came to human exploration to Mars. 2 years later, I organized a Mars simulation mission at the desert of Utah. And by doing these new initiatives, I got some attention from people, yes, of course, who were active in the new space industry. I will never forget the phone call inviting me to join a lunch together with Sir Richard Branson in Amsterdam in 2011, where I was asked to join 100 CEOs who paid each around 1,000 euros to be able to have a lunch together with Richard Branson. I was invited as a specialist in space training, and I had the opportunity to lunch with him on the main table. And by having this conversation, it was quite eye-opening, let's say. I asked Richard Branson, how did you come to the idea of creating Virgin Galactic? I mean, you're such a successful entrepreneur. You're not like the common astronauts I'm used to talk to. And he just told me, relax, you know, don't take it too serious. I just enjoy what I do. And when I was a child, I had this dream of becoming an astronaut. I didn't have the right stuff, but who cares? And I was like, oh my God, why am I caring and stressing myself to improve, to be able to get an opportunity to participate in something which is only provided for 6 persons out of 15,000 once in 15 years? Just do what you have to do, right? Take initiative, build the roads. And the pieces came together. I was thinking about my grandparents, about pioneers, about him, about all the people I've met in the past. And then I was like, okay, why not creating my own space training academy? Because I think that private astronauts are becoming very important licensed people. We used to look down at these billionaires now, last couple of months, who shoot themselves into space, like Richard Branson, like Jeff Bezos. People like to comment on Inspiration 4, but I think it's very important because just like after World War II, in the beginning, only pioneers could fly to space, then only the very rich people. But by giving confidence to people, to investors, you can boost the whole sector. That's what you need. You need airliners, you need space liners. And by getting this kind of attention, you boost it in the industry to a higher level, just like what happened after World War II. So I think by giving these people who want to become pioneers, who want to invest their money in this kind of flights, they're important as well to create more opportunities for private-public corporations to fly more experiments and so on. By getting them good space ambassadors, you give the whole sector a boost because these are people of influence, right? So I decided to create a company, the Space Training Company, where I can bridge between people who think about buying a ticket, but they hesitate maybe about the mental and physical challenges, and companies like Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, SpaceX, Axiom Space. And we put these people in high-end simulations. And for this, we use, for example, the military simulator Desdemona in Soesterberg in the Netherlands. And there we simulate up to 3-4 Gs. We simulate a commercial space flight. We do docking with the International Space Station and so on. Not that private astronauts will ever in their life do a manual docking with the space station. But by having these experiences, by feeling high accelerations, transitions to zero gravity, I think the stress will lower down for real. And if they survive the Desdemona simulator, they will go in a hyperbaric room where we simulate oxygen deprivation. And as well, we go to a military centrifuge, so we go up to 6 Gs. And people start wondering, is it something for me? Can I do this? What kind of people are doing these simulations? What kind of people do parabolic flights? Because that's the next step I do. When people behave well, let's say at a simulator, I rent the private jet of TU Delft University of Technology in Amsterdam. And there we do zero gravity flights. Well, I can tell you, I put my mom, she's not in the picture here. My mom is 72 years old. I put her in a simulator of Desdemona, in a simulator for military and professional pilots. And she came out just smiling and she was hugging me because she told me, listen up, I will not be alive anymore when space travel becomes affordable for all of us. But this experience is the closest that I will ever get in my life. It's so fantastic that, yeah, it's really top of the top. So we want to prepare private astronauts to let them become good space ambassadors, but also, of course, increase public awareness so that we can contribute to the new industry. And I think now that with the impact of commercial space travel, the potential to transform our lives on Earth, breaking boundaries that have constrained economic and cultural growth again, since time began better is really, really applicable right here, right now. And I'm convinced too that we are ready, because now we come to an era where there is a new geopolitical drive. You see space powers like Russia now, like Europe, United States, China, India, they're forming new coalitions. And you see that there's a geopolitical drive to go further for strategic reasons. The role that commercial companies are playing now is also shifted from more government-driven to customer-driven. Instead of making parts for the governmental space organizations, you see companies like Axiom Space, like SpaceX, making complete rockets, making complete space stations where governmental institutions can hire space instead of investing all the money by tax payers. And of course, we are now on the convergence of top science and top technology, where the technology is finally mature enough to go back, for example, to the moon and stay there sustainable. Because during the 60s and 70s, for example, we didn't know for sure that there was water on the moon. We were not able to do 3D printing. We even didn't know if human beings would be able to stay for long term into space. And of course, the human challenges are huge. The impact of weightlessness, the impact of the psychological factor of being away from Earth, of being isolated, the autonomy, the way that we train our astronauts will be completely different going to Mars than, for example, astronauts now are on board of the International Space Station. But for all these huge challenges, there's a top team in the world working on these, not only the human challenges, but also the technological challenges of power, of Earth, of Mars observation. We create better solar panels. We focus more at circular economy thanks to challenges in space exploration. And you have this upstream applications, but there are a lot of downstream applications too. We see more efficient wastewater systems thanks to space technology. I don't have to convince you that space technology will benefit all of us on the long term. And what we learn from it is quite challenging. But I think it's important that if we explore space, we need to do it right this time. And we should do for space what we should have done for the Earth and climate 30 to 50 years ago. Because there are many leading thinkers saying that the reason that we've not been contacted by aliens yet is that there might be alien civilization with technology able to reach out to other stars, and they were smart enough to develop communication and spacefaring technology, but not wise enough and not smart enough not to destroy themselves. So right now, let's say that for Earth, the problems that we have on Earth are already expanding to space. If we look at our oceans, which are suspended by plastic, if we look at low Earth orbits and even medium and higher orbits, we need to take serious the problem of space debris, which is of course an area of expertise that also ESA is working at a lot. And the main challenges that we have to counteract are, of course, the problem of fueling in space, going to space sustainable, and from low Earth orbits make a base so that from there we can travel further to the Moon and Mars, recycling in space, and of course, space debris. And then, of course, the ultimate question, to Mars or not to Mars with human beings. That's the question, because robotic exploration can do great things, right? Why going with humans to space? Of course, we all know the benefits of space travel in Earth observation for the climate, about telecommunications, all the spin-offs that we have on Earth in our technology. But there's a lot of biomedical research going on. And by creating circumstances that are quite challenging in space, we learn a lot more about the human body, about our cardiovascular system, about our immune system. And in the future, maybe we would be able as well to, for example, by a spin-off, do 3D printing on of organs on Earth and so on. But the main driver of exploration is the psychological impact. I don't know why, but human beings are designed such that if they are comfortable in a certain environment, if they stay comfortable in that environment, they start being lazy, more or less. And by challenging and by putting forward new frontiers, just like, for example, Magellan did or Columbus in the old days, and by getting a lot of comments by other people, it's how it somehow works. You inspire people, you find very unusual solutions for problems you have never thought about. And just like the very, very primitive life on Earth left a comfortable environment of, for example, water to establish itself on the land, I personally am convinced that we need to become a space travel species, a spacefaring species. How cool would it be that one day a human being is standing on planet Earth instead of a robot looking at Earth-Moon system, looking at this beautiful blue speck of light and seeing all this in perspective? How cool would that be? And at the end, I think we cannot stay on Earth forever. Even if we control problems on Earth, if we control climate problems here, if we would be able to survive here on planet Earth on the long term, we could be hit by an asteroid, there could be a supernova explosion, and on the very long term, but of course it's long-term thinking, within now and 800 million years, the sun will start swelling and burn the Earth to a crisp. So I think it's our very common purpose of human species to become spacefaring. And at the end, look at this. If we look back on planet Earth, having this perspective, I think it's also needed to have this perspective to grow as humanity. It's very contradictory, but by traveling in space, by experience the depth and the depth of space, we discovered Earth itself, and we realized how precious our planet Earth is. And it's our only spaceship. And we have to maintain this spaceship very, very well in order to survive here and in order to become able to explore further. And here in space, it doesn't matter if you live in Italy or in Spain or in Norway, United States, China, Africa, what color that you have, what gender that you have, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't even matter what job that you do, because just like ants, in a wider perspective, all human beings, all the work that we do is very important. And only by contributing and by becoming the best in our field of expertise, and if we combine all this little work, human exploration and human growth goes exponentially. And that's what I want to give to you, this presence of a beautiful look at planet Earth. And don't forget, we are already all astronauts. We are traveling together with the sun and all the other planets and asteroids at the dazzling speeds of 800,000 kilometers an hour through space. So even if you don't want to be an astronaut, I have bad news, you already are an astronaut. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nancy Vermeulen, for sharing your experience with us. It's very, very inspiring, in fact. And it was fascinating to hear you, and I particularly appreciate your final statement about the Earth. So thank you for all that. And maybe you can take a 5-minute question for Nancy. Do you have any questions? Jean, do you want to speak?
Not in particular, just to thank Nancy Vermeulen for this very enlightening presentation. And I think that if there are no questions, we can take maybe just a shorter break so we don't run too late, and we all return at 11:15.
Okay, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nancy. And it was a really you can you can see all the comments on the chat, and your speech impresses. Thank you very much. And see you in 10 minutes. So 11:15. Thank you. Yes, it's time to begin. Let's now begin the first session entitled A Fast Evolving Space Environment. I'm pleased to introduce our three first speakers, Jolanda van Eindhoven, Juliette Lambin, and Simonetta Schelli. Jolanda van Eindhoven joined the European Commission in 2002 after having worked for the Dutch Ministry of Finance, advising on EU law in the area of taxation. Within the European Commission, she has worked in different taxation domains: coordination of the enforcement of European law, proposed a legislative initiative to improve the single market for services, dealt with defense procurement, legal and institutional aspects of Galileo EGNOS, and space policy. Since September, she is head of the unit responsible for international affairs and communication in the Directorate General for Defense, Industry and Space. She will be followed by Juliette Lambin, with head of science, exploration and observation at CNES. Graduated from École Polytechnique in 1997, she passed a PhD in geophysics from Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris in 2001, and worked at Caltech and GPL as a research scholar till 2005. Since 2005 at CNES, she has successfully held different positions, started as an altimetry engineer from 2005 to 2010, became Ocean Programmer Manager from 2010 to 2014, was promoted as Head of Radar Processing Office in 2014, and in 2017 joined the Directorate for Innovation, Applications and Science as an Observation Program Manager. And finally, we will hear Simonetta Schelli. Simonetta Schelli is the Head of Strategy Program and Coordination Office, Directorate of Earth Observation Programs at ESA headquarters in Paris, France. Her role involves managing ESA relations in Earth observation with the European Union, the European Commission, and with various other European entities. She is responsible for coordinating the Director's Office and supporting him at the Earth Observation Directorate in the preparation of council meetings, ministerial meetings, high-level international conferences, and in managing bilateral and multilateral relations with international partner agencies of the Earth Observation Directorate, such as GEOSS, GEO, etc. She's in charge of the program board for Earth observation and interaction with ESA member states. So, Jolanda, the floor is yours.
Jolanda, you're muted.
Yes, now you can hear me. Good morning, everyone. I think I have some slides and someone will be sharing those on screen, I think. But I will start already as we don't have much time. So I will focus today on the EU space program, for which the relevant regulation has been entering into force in May of this year. It will cover the years 2021 to 2027, so in line with the MFF. Now, why would we have a space program and a space program regulation? Now, one of the objectives of it is actually to foster a strong and innovative space industry. To give you some idea about the figures we talk about, we have over 30 satellites in orbit, both for navigation and for Earth observation. We have an investment of this period of 16 billion. This is the highest amount ever for space for the European Union. The previous times it was 11 billion and 5 billion we started with. The European space industry is important because it supports over 250,000 jobs, but actually with a value added estimated between 46 and 45 billion. We have over 2 billion Galileo enabled devices. And then Copernicus data is used by 60% of the European Earth observation companies. Now, as you can see, for Europe, space is very important, and the EU space program maximizes the socio-economic benefits. And it does that by fostering the development of innovative and competitive European up and downstream sectors. And in that respect, we also want to be inclusive. So we want the SMEs and startups to also benefit from the money which is invested. Now, the space program encompasses the existing 3 flagships, so Galileo, Copernicus, and EGNOS. And in addition to that, it will also enable GovSatcom and SSA. I will later on explain a little bit more. Now, it's of course an investment in a future, and a future which is extremely important because space influences our daily lives, and many people don't see that. So on the one hand, the program ensures that the technology we already have in space remains there and is of high quality. But at the same time, of course, we also want to develop new features, both for Earth observation and for satellite navigation. Now, it also ensures that we remain of the competitive edge. So we want to ensure that Galileo, as it currently is one of the best navigation systems in the world, also remains to be one of those systems. And the same with Earth observation, to enhance and to further develop services so that we can add actually to climate change and help there. At the same time, the space program, of course, is also working closely together with Horizon Europe. Also there is a space component in it for innovation and research. So this is closely connected in order to ensure actually that companies benefit from the programs, not double, but as a follow-up. One of the most important elements in the space program is, of course, the fight against climate change. We all know, I don't think I have to tell you as to what the benefits of Earth observation are. And in this respect, one of the features in the space program regulation is indeed further work in this respect when it comes to CO2 emissions and monitoring biodiversity. We, of course, also want to remain an actor in the world, not only when it comes to space, but of course also when it comes to working here on Earth with disaster relief, humanitarian missions, security operations, Earth observation, and also satellite navigation can play a very important role in that respect. Now, if we look at the concrete elements of the EU space regulation, and I mentioned already some of them. So on the one hand, we have the Earth observation program Copernicus. And as I mentioned there, this MFF, we want to, on the one hand, retain the services we deliver, but on the other hand, also embark on new services so that we can indeed have that additional point when it comes to CO2 emissions. For Galileo, we also want to remain on top of the bill, ensuring high quality services when it comes to satellite navigation, but also develop new elements like high accuracy and also authentication of the signal. For EGNOS, which is a system which enhances actually the satellite navigation signals, which is used around Europe by over 300 airports in 23 countries. And what it ensures is actually safe landing also when weather conditions, for instance, are really bad. Then there are two new elements in the space program regulation, and that is SSA, so space situational awareness, where we have several components. On the one hand, we have space weather. We also have space tracking management. So these are new features whereby we also use indeed services from other satellite systems, mainly in Europe. And last but not least is the EU GovSatCom, which is the secure satellite communications for EU security actors. So this is one of the systems which could be used, for instance, by police in various member states. Now, if we look in particular to Earth observation and actually who is helping us with the implementation of the budget and the development of all the features. Now, what is new under the EU space program is that our agency in Prague, the GSA, which is created now as the EUSPA, will also take a role actually when it comes to Copernicus. So when it comes to market development, communication and promotion activities, EUSPA is now also taking a role in Copernicus. The advantage there is that we can work on the synergies between the various program components. What we have seen, for instance, in light of the UN development goals, is that using Copernicus and Galileo at the same time, or EGNOS, we even create higher benefits. So for that purpose, it's also important to use the competence and intelligence of EUSPA, which has been working on the market development for Galileo and EGNOS already the past years, to actually use them as well for Copernicus. But that said, of course, many of the services which we deliver for Copernicus, we don't do alone, and we have indeed the agencies which are helping us. Now, one important player is, of course, ESA. Partly funding also Copernicus, and this is of course the agency, the European Space Agency, building the satellites, and in close cooperation and discussion of course with the European Commission, but they are the ones who are building the satellites for us and have the contacts with the industry. And then we have indeed the other agencies like ECMWF, we have EMSA, we have the Joint Research Center. These are all agencies are helping to implement the Copernicus program to ensure indeed that the services are delivered at the highest possible quality. So this is what I wanted to say in a very, very short nutshell. I have to say an overview of the space program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yolanda. Juliette, it's your turn to speak. Juliette.
Yes, hello. So thank you, Isabel. I'm gonna try to get the video on and then to share my screen, which should be easy. Okay, I don't know if you can see it.
It's perfect, perfect, Juliette.
Okay, so great. Thank you for inviting me here. So as I will try to give you a very short overview or sort of what is this fast evolving space in Earth observation from a space agency perspective. Just generally speaking, we have usually a classical view of Earth observation that is somehow a cycle between three domains. The first one being science, which is well, originally the first motivation for doing space observation. And then it quickly went to operational Earth observation through the meteorological program, but also through Copernicus now. And then you have the downstream sector of the applicative sector, which goes into Earth observation as a business, I would say. And those three domains have been considered as in constant interaction, feeding each other. And what is going on right now and for the last decades, I would say, is that this circle is put into tension. Basically, there is the what we thought would be a mutualization of efforts comes into somehow spreading into different views, and I will comment on that later. We, of course, have new actors, new space agencies, but also new actors from the private sector, from the market, new actors from the data world, I would say. And also there is a more stringent international competition over the Earth observation stakes. So I really think my take-home message, which I'll say first and then comment, is we need to develop an efficient and coordinated vision on that. And of course, the national agencies or government they're funding the programs either nationally or through EU or ESA have their word to say. But I really believe that international coordination that as offered by GEO or Europe as the right level, in my view, to address those challenges, have to take their part in it. And they're already taking some of it. And I think this workshop today is a good way to move forward. So first on Earth sciences, just the pure science out of space is really old in some sense, since the 60s, I would say. And Earth science are as a domain profoundly structured by the access to observation. And in this range, satellite observation is really valuable because it offers this global coverage and continuity. And as an example, I put the sea level trend. I would say first, when the TOPEX mission or the ERS mission were out, it was not to monitor sea level rise, but that was a product that we developed over the time because the precision would allow that. And basically, from initially maybe a set of reduced parameters that we wanted to observe from space, now we have really much more observable, much more new parameters that we want to observe, that we know that the Earth model can assimilate. And there is a very huge science effort on that. And as another illustration, I put a record of the science publication as compiled by ESA for their missions. And you see that in the early 2000, basically you had only ERS and VSAT putting that. And you see the expansion of both new science missions such as SWARM, Cryosat, MOS, GOCHE, and of course later the Sentinel generation of satellites. So demand for space measurement for Earth science is growing, and in some part, some of them have been taken into account in the onset of Copernicus. And so that's my second slide. Earth observation and societal need. Observational programs were developed to respond to the need to monitor environment, not so much about pure science. And of course, you have it's a user-driven programs. Data are intended to fit some services, and I put as an example above the international charter to monitor disaster. This is an interesting example because the data actually are provided by Airbus and through CNES, but it's still, you have some private company developing their own satellite in this. And the second, on this ground, of course, Europe is ahead of everyone. thanks to the Copernicus system. And the second illustration here is all the Sentinel mission, or the Copernicus mission, which 10 years ago did not exist, and that is really wonderful news. So the challenge here is somehow the affordability of this Earth observation system, how to maintain the enhanced continuity that people want, and how to develop services and application. But previous speakers have already talked about that. And last aspect of this these three folders observation is application or economics. And of course, as the new economy based on really a digital ecosystem have made that Earth observation data is a really attractive business perspective, and both at the level of building constellation for that, and this is an example of the SmallSat constellation project that should be out in a few years, and this slide is already from 2020, so I'm assuming there are more on that. You can see the importance of the US and China, but some European flag coming up also. And in this sense, the constellation, the low-cost satellite are very attractive from a business perspective because we have more launch opportunities, and basically the choice would be make on more data rather than very accurate or very reliable data. And that really is a challenge because it's a sort of really change of paradigm in terms of Earth observation. And the role of space agency in this context is also different because it's the private sector is somehow pushing into new initiative, and the space agency has to accompany that. But so mostly today is still publicly funded, but we can see that there is move to have private funding on that. And last illustration down is also, you have the same revolution in terms of application, and there is this Connect by CNES effort that will trying to promote application at national level for users that are not, for user to be, that are not used to space data. And so to conclude, I think what we need in Europe really is to find this right balance between the science-driven, user-driven or economic-driven EO space program. And on both sides, we have challenges ahead that may not be that convergent. And we have to see what kind of convergence we want and what kind of divergence we want to let it go. And I'm hoping that this workshop today is a way to move forward on that. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was very inspiring and interesting. Thank you. And now, Simonetta, it's up to you to speak.
Yes, good morning to everybody. Good morning, Isabel.
Good morning.
Nice to see you all. So in a few minutes, I was asked to speak about the Earth Science collaboration between the European Commission and ESA. And this is a new initiative that was actually started in January 2020. It's an initiative whereby the collaboration, which is existing since many years between the European Commission, in particular the DG Research and Innovation, and the one of the European Space Agency in the context of EuroGEO today and before EUEP, is coordinated, rationalized, and the collaboration is very strong on the topics that you see here, which are basically the grand challenges of mankind. So we have the Green Deal today, we have the climate crisis, we have the SDGs at the level of the United Nations, and we do want to cooperate together in areas which are related to R&D, using and promoting the use of EO data in that context. Here is just the signature we had at the level of our director at the time, Joseph Aschbacher, and Patrick Child of DG RTD at the occasion of the Space Policy Conference in January 2020. We have proposed for this collaboration a phased approach. We had a consolidation phase, which was still at the time of what we call P5 and today FutureGEO program since the ministerial 2019. And we are today currently in the pilot phase, which is the pilot phase of this collaboration that will last until 2022, with an expected full implementation from 23 onwards until 25 and later. We do cover the topics which are the topics of our ESA FutureGEO program, which is the science, the innovation program, but also the program that prepares for future operational programs in ESA Earth observation. And of course, the topics which are the ones covered by Horizon Europe today, which are the topics of research, including the ones of ICT, interdisciplinary areas, and the ones which integrate in situ data into the ones of models where also Earth observation data are used. Here we have the plan to launch coordinated and coherent ITTs. So ESA has launched an initial set of ITTs recently, for example, on the polar science. And these ITTs, of course, are coordinated with what is done on the side of Horizon Europe in terms of research activities, in terms of promoting the wider scientific collaboration on research topics like the polar one. Here, the idea and the plan is to promote at best the integration and use of Earth observation data into the research activities, which are done not only at European level, but worldwide. We also work together with the Commission to do a consultation of the scientific user community. So we organize joint workshops. We have done one for agriculture and water cycle and one on oceans. And these joint workshops basically are the occasion for consulting the user community on the requirements and also on the results of the work that they do. And we have a very important event coming up on the ESA side, which is the Living Planet Symposium, planned for next year in May in Bonn. And there we will organize a dedicated joint session with the Commission, RTD, to present the achievements of this collaboration on the sciences. We have some flagships. Of course, the flagships are covering the topics which are the main topics of both FutureGEO on ESA side and the science classes, basically. And one of those, as I mentioned, is the polar one, but it's not the only one. Very important today on the agenda of everything that is the political objectives at the level of the EU, but also at the level of ESA activities is biodiversity. We have a biodiversity strategy for 2030 at the level of the European Union, the Green Deal and Fit to 55, which of course was launched in July, and ESA does dedicated ITTs with calls on these topics with a set of parallel preparatory activities that of course supports these objectives and these plans. Here you have a view of our explorers, the ones which are not yet already flying and in operation. We have many flying and in operation, like the soil moisture mission, the one on cryosat on ice thickness, the one on swarm, on magnetic fields, and many others. But we do plan to launch new research missions in the coming years. EarthCare is one of those that will look at cloud and aerosols in partnership with the Japanese. Biomass is a very relevant one for Green Deal. It will look at biomass estimates with a P-band rather board and flex on vegetation fluorescence. And these are just examples because we have more missions coming up in the coming years. So this collaboration will amplify the exploitation of the EO data available, which are of course a big wealth for the scientific community. Such collaboration has, of course, an initial set of activities, has contact points on both sides. My colleagues are working very actively, but I would say big achievement is the fact that we now have coordinated calls and calls which are trying to rationalize the investments which are done in the research field related to everything that is research, Earth observation, environment, climate change. And these research I would say coordination mechanism not only grant the best use of European investments in the research field, but an alignment of the activities with a very long-term perspective of stronger collaboration. And here the Living Planet, which I mentioned to you in the beginning. Thank you so much. And of course, I'm available for questions if you have.
Thank you very much, Simonetta. And thank you for insisting on the balance between also observation, in situ, and modelization. That it will be important in the future, I think, to keep this in mind. So now we will let's take a look at what's happening on the French side, and let me introduce Laurence Monod-Smith, Marin Dacos, and it was a plan that Selma Cherchali speak this morning, but she's unable to attend. She has a problem, so she prepares the presentation, but she will not be there. So Laurence, Marin Dacos, and Juliette, who are going to tell us about politically supported initiative on Earth observation, example of France support to Earth observation. First, we will hear Laurence Monod-Smith, who is Head of Sustainable Development and Performance at CNES. She is piloting the Space Climate Observatory program, holder of a PhD in Media Studies and an habilitation to supervise research. Laurence Monod-Smith was head of the Social Sciences Laboratory at the University of Technology of Compiègne, where she was professor. In 2013, she became vice president of the National Commission for Public Debate, the first woman and the first academic to hold this post. Laurence Monod-Smith was appointed in May 2015 as interministerial delegate and general commissioner for sustainable development at the General Commission for Sustainable Development within the Ministry of the Environment, Energy and the Sea. As an interministerial delegate, she led the French roadmap for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Then we will listen to Marin Dacos. Marin Dacos is Open Science Coordinator at the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. He has been highly involved in the writing process of the French Open Science Plan and is deeply involved in the activities of the Open Science Committee. He was the founding director of Open Edition, a scholarly infrastructure dedicated to open access publications in human and social sciences, created in 1999 with more than 500 journals, 6,000 books, 2,500 academic blogs. Open Edition is considered as a leading European initiative. He received the prestigious CNRS, French National Center for Scientific Research, Innovation Medal in 2016. He is the author of dozens of articles and 2 books about digital humanities and open science. And then we will go back to Juliette. Juliette is head of science and in ACNES, sorry. Laurence, it's up to you to speak.
Thank you very much, Isabel. Thank you, everyone. I'm really happy to be with you this morning and to listen to those very inspiring speeches that you've been giving since 10 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to share my screen so I can talk to you about the Space Climate Observatory. Is that all right, Isabel?
Yes, Laurence,
okay.
is perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Claire has already introduced the Space Climate Observatory in her speech, introductory speech this morning. So I'm going to go a bit more in depth in the presentation of this initiative. So the Space Climate Observatory, as she kindly reminded us, has been launched in December 2017, and it's very much an initiative that has been inspired by this movement in the One Planet Summit following the Paris Accord, where all the space agencies decided that they should engage themselves more deeply into helping all the different countries to reach the goals that has been set during this on the Paris Agreement. So after a couple of years of discussions between the space agencies and the countries, we actually managed in June 2019 to sign this declaration of intention that sets this informal network of space agencies, involving also UNDP and UNOSA, and since then, of course, ESA and UNEP has joined us. So it is basically an alliance between space agencies and international organization who wishes to catalyze action through very operational projects. The idea is that to foster the engagement of space agencies through the use of their data and the work of scientists that has been done upstream, and to thanks to those data, to help to provide decision makers with very operational tools. And I will give some example in a few moments. Just to give you an idea of how it is organized, we have this international network, we are now 33 organizations and special agencies. And this international network has local implementation, that what we call the local SCO or SCO accelerated committees, and these local implementation are presenting and labeling some projects, operational projects, and I will give the conditions of this labelization in a few moments. This international organization is very much linked with the application of the Sustainable Development Goals, meaning that we would like this operational project to help all the countries to reach the targets that are set by the SDGs. So this SCO really aims to provide operational tools and study to help the decision makers to adapt to climate change. So it's very much focused on how we can help local cities, local regions, vulnerable regions to adapt to climate change, and through that addressing the SDGs. So in a nutshell, if I can describe how it is working, basically what we ask for from SCO projects is to interoperate some satellite data, so everything that is of course open source, for example, and free to the public, for example, what we have through the Copernicus program, and but also providing with satellite data who might be private data, but some of our agencies, such as CNES, have access to private data, and for example Airbus data, Pléiades data, and we try to make them accessible to companies and to projects, so that they have the right data they wish, the right data to tackle the problem they're facing. And so we interoperate satellite data with in-situ data, and sometimes also with socioeconomic data, and creating models, algorithms to answer to specific local challenges. SCO projects are usually led by consortia, which involve public authorities, which are usually the end users, and I will get back to end users because it's very important into the labeling project and into SCO International, involving also scientists. Usually scientists have developed upstream some algorithms, and what we are aiming at is to do this last mile, using the work of scientists to apply them very concretely, very operationally on specific ground. That's why we really much insist on scientists being involved into the consortium. Companies are part of consortiums as well, because we would like to have a business case behind that, because SCO projects are not only aiming at sorry, are not only aiming for experiments, but we are also hoping that once they've delivered the tool, this tool is operational and it has to be maintained, that there is a business case behind that. So we want to involve companies, of course, data providers, and as I said, space agencies. And this consortia goes through a very strict labeling process, which is at the local, which takes place at the local level, at the national level very often. For example, in France, we have a strong labeling process through a consortium of scientists and organizations representing every kind of research and action targeted on climate adaptation. So this labeling process then allows the project to apply for grants, for fundings in different types of in front of different type of organization. It can be ESA, it can be Europe, but it can also be in France, as CNES and other organizations are funding some interesting projects. So for the moment, we are working under terms of references, which organizes the international scope, and we are working on an international charter as well. I will say a word about it in a moment. So the scope today is just a quick description, is 33 signatories. We've held, despite the COVID situation, 6 steering committees, which have allowed us to work on the terms of reference and the international charter, which is almost ready. We have a steering committee in 2 weeks' time to validate it and to go through a presentation process at the COP26, which is our hot topic at the moment. We have a strong communication because the aim of the game is for these operational tools to be shared, and that's very important for us among the community, because once you have a project which, for example, tackles the problems of coastline and the impact of the elevation of the sea on the infrastructure in one region, then it can be reproduced in another region. So we really want to share what we've done. We've got news online, 43 project descriptions, it's online, and those projects are taking place in 64 sites all over the world. Sorry. Here you have the description of where the projects are, and you can find everything online. And I've put on this slide also all the topics that are tackled by this labeling project. So you can see it goes from coastal to urban, from coastal challenges to urban metrics, forest protection, atmosphere composition, ocean, etc. So you can see that all these projects are basically dealing with all aspects of climate adaptation. So yeah, I'm going through my last slide just to tell you that we have a call for proposal actually ongoing at the European level. So that's pretty much a call for all you guys who know companies, people, scientists who want to apply for the climate observatory labeling process, that they can go online and have all the descriptions of what's the time schedules and what we need. Thank you very much for your listening, and please don't hesitate to visit our website.
Thank you very much, Laurence. Marin, are you here? It's your turn to speak.
Thank you very much. I need that the previous presentation is closed to be allowed to share my screen. Thank you. So thank you for the invitation. I think that you see my screen. And do you see my screen?
Yes, we do. We see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will present in 4 or 5 minutes the French open science policy. We started in 2016 with a Digital Republic law, with an article which is very important, the Article 6, that stated that open data must be the default for all publicly funded data, including research. So that makes mandatory to open all the publicly researched data. Thanks to that, the IGN, Institute for Geographical Information, decided to freeze its data this year. There has been a report asked by the Prime Minister about public policy about data in last year in 2020 from Eric Botorel, and he stated that there is a gap between the ambitions of the 2016 legislation and its implementations. And he decided, then the Prime Minister decided that each ministry must now have a chief data officer, and in the Ministry of Research, it will be, it is a chief research data officer. And that they decided also that each ministry must have an open data algorithm and code roadmap. So that reinforces the French policy concerning opening up the data. Then we decided to publish a national open science plan. So the first one was published in 2018. It was published released by the Minister Frédérique Vidal herself. The main impact of this first national open science plan was that we started in 2018 with 41% of publication in open access. And 3 years later, we reached 56%. So it's a radical increase of openness of our publications, and we hope that we will reach 100% in the next years. And we created also the National Open Science Fund, a tool that is able to provide money to exemplary initiatives concerning open science. And this year, in 2021, the Minister, Frédérique Vidal, announced the second National Open Science with 4 parts. The first one is about generalizing open access to publication. The second one was about sharing, opening, and structuring research data. The third one was about opening and promoting source code by research, produced by research. And then the fourth part was about transforming practices to make open science the default principle. So in particular, the plan decided that it would support economic models of open access publications without publication fee, or what people call APCs. So it's called the diamond model, which is very important to equilibrate the publication landscape. The plan decided also to promote multilingualism, and in your case, it's very important to translate from English into French the research results, so the citizens can have an access to the result of science. And we decided also to create a research data gov, which is a national federated platform for all research data in France, and develops and value open science skills for all levels, students and researchers, and to value open science and the diversity of scientific productions in the evaluation of researchers and the evaluation of teachers, researchers, project and research institution. And we decided also to triple the budget of open science on the national level. So the next step for us is that there will be in early 2022, the French presidency of the European Union. And so we invite you on 4th and 5th of February 2022 in Paris at the Academy of Science to the European Open Science Conference. So you are invited to this event, and 4 main subjects will be addressed. First is a question of evaluation that needs to evolve to take into account open science. Then we will address the question of transparency in health research, because you are aware about the main pandemics that we are trying to face now. We will also discuss the future of scientific publishing and the question of open source software for research. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marin. I think that open science is very key for GEO, and a key to share our expertise with all scientists. Thank you very much. So I give the floor to Juliette.
Okay, thank you, Isabel, again, and please, Selma is asking me to convey you apologies for not being here. She had an early meeting, telescoping with this current meeting. So I will present here the focus on the Earth Science program from CNES, and I will try to go fast because we are running out of time. And so the Earth program, the Earth Science program at CNES is really driven by the question of the climate system, of understanding the Earth and all the interaction into the climate machine of the Earth. And so we are really driven by science need we have a regular science prospective seminar where we interrogate all the French science community to what are their priorities in terms of mission, in terms of new observables, and through yearly or more frequent meeting, we have a committee for Earth observation, which is called the TOSCA, for Terre, Océan, Surface continentale and Atmosphere, which is supporting on a day-to-day basis the programmation of CNES. And of course, we have all the other users. We have close interaction with other users at national level with defense user, but also with our research or organisms such as the Geographic National Institute, Météo France, and also at European level, EUMETSAT, Copernicus, ESA. Of course, as CNES is also the French delegation at ESA, we are taking into account the European context, and we are taking into account in terms of ESA Earth observation program, and we also have international bilateral cooperation perspective with NASA, with the Indian Space Research Organization, with China, with JAXA, and through a very international flavor. And so as one specific of CNES is that we are never doing it alone. We also really rely on the French expertise and excellence in science, both from the research laboratory, from the industry. And so, this is a full view of the different component of the Earth observation program, which is complete. It goes for R&D, phase 0, phase A study to data and service centers. And it has also some strategic institute observation to complement satellite. We have both mission development and support to research. So all the work of Selma is to put into a consistency on all this set of action. And that's translated into a very rich panel of mission, which I will not detail here because maybe I want to come back so you will see that in the slide if you want more information, to what are we doing Earth science, Earth observation for, is really the challenges. And again, I will not recall the climate and environmental stakes of Earth observation. You know that very well. And then I might more focus on what CNES is doing. So in terms of mission, we have 3 recognized area of excellences in satellite imagery from SPOT and Pleiad data. And now we are developing a Trishna for infrared thermal imagery and CO3D in partnership with Airbus for high resolution Earth observation. A second area of excellence is altimetry and ocean mission. And we are right now developing the SWOT mission with NASA. And a third one is the sounding of the atmosphere, where we have microcarb, YASI-NG, and Merlin into preparation. But then I will as of today, what is somehow important is the mission that are right now in operation. And there is a strong effort that has been put from by CNES during the recent year to really enhance the data and service centers, the science and the application with respect to satellite data. And so all this program goes again with a science and application focus. And I will really mention more the DataTerra initiative, which is an Earth system research infrastructure made in partnership with all the research organization in France in charge of Earth sciences. And really, DataTerra is intended to promote integrated and interdisciplinary research based on Earth data. And this is fully complementary to what's happening at the European or international scale. And we structured DataTerra into several data center for the different compartments of the Earth. AERIS for atmosphere, Formater for the solid Earth, Audatis for the ocean, and Theia for the surface. And Dynamis is a particular mechanism to access commercial imagery for science purposes. And so, of course, this DataTerra initiative is really into the same movement that stressed the importance of data integration, of the combination with model, with in situ data, and somehow the transformation of a space of data, raw data in some sense, into adapted data toward the largest use possible. And it goes also with capacity building. So as a few examples, I can stress, for example, some of our mission. Megatroping is cooperation with ISRO, is a part of dedicated to precipitation. And it is a mission that was really designed as a science mission, but that is now operationally assimilated in across 9 national weather prediction, numerical weather prediction center. And that is really because of the low inclination orbit, very instrumental into observing storms and hurricanes. Another example from the long investment of CNES in altimetry is the Aviso data center. And on continental surfaces, we have an example of activities that take part into the GEOGEO initiative for hydrology in this case. And this is again an illustration of activities that goes from the national level up to international level. Again, into GEOGEO, the land, water, and surface monitoring. This is all in the frame of the preparation of SWOT mission, of course. And we have this hydrowave system that monitors continuously, thanks to altimetry, more than 5,000 potential virtual stations over inland water. And I will finish with SARAL, which has it's an altimetry satellite again, which goes from sea level to coastal ocean. And again, that is a science flavor, but with operational activities. And this is the last slide with the still on hydrology. The perspectives that will be open with the SWOT mission are really huge. We are really expecting from the SWOT mission a complete new insight into the water cycle of the Earth. So stay tuned, because it will be launched soon. The satellite is now in integration in Nice, and that's really an exciting mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliette, for this presentation you haven't planned to do this morning. So thank you so much. And I would like to thank you, all of you, for this presentation about the French involvement in Earth observation and GEO. As we are late, I apologize for this. I will make quickly, and then and thank you for your participation and the richness of the presentation. And we are coming to the end of our program today, and Erwin Boer from REA will present us the next day program and close the session. And I would like to thank Erwin and Thierry Ranchin too for the support during this session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. So first of all, I'd like to, so I will keep it very short, of course, but I would like to really thank all speakers because they really set clearly the priorities we have here as a European Earth observation or environmental observation community. And let's say in the next days, we will call for you. We will call for your active participation in the sense that we will have lots of places for discussions, for Q&A, but also open discussions with you. So if you see the agenda, let me start by the last day. On Thursday, we will really devote to the evolution of EuroGEO. So it was Patrick Chart, I think, who mentioned the central theme of this year's conference. So the how EU solutions can really support the EU Green Deal. So it's clear that our environment is changing. The environment in which EuroGEO needs to operate is changing fundamentally. There is the European Green Deal. There's also the digital transformation. And we really need to discuss with you as a community how we should further adapt to this changing environment. On Wednesday, so the day after tomorrow, we will have a session where we tell you more about the last projects resulting from the last Horizon 2020 calls, but as well we will shed a light about future opportunities of funding which we have now in Horizon Europe and so on. Also, we will introduce to you some new players, some new actors within EuroGEO. So that's for Wednesday and Thursday, but tomorrow we have, let's say, the most packed agenda of this week. We have a session before noon and one in the afternoon. Before noon, we will give the floor to 27 of our projects who will demonstrate what they have. So there were many speakers really talking about open science, open knowledge, about involving users who we will see how our projects have addressed this. And so let me first talk about this session. So we will, as I said, we will have 27 projects who will provide a demonstration, and we split them up into 4 parallel sessions. So one on climate, one on land, one on platforms, which includes as well talks on in situ sensors and citizen science, and the last one on hazards. So last week you received the detailed program, so you will see which projects will present. And also tomorrow morning, we will send this information again via the mailing list. So please reconvene tomorrow at 9, because we will then tell you how you can go to the different breakout sessions. And it's very important that also you come back a quarter before noon, when we will have interactive discussions with the whole team. So we will come back in the plenary because we ask our projects not only to present what they can do, but also to reflect or to share their lessons learned, their recommendations on 3 aspects, which I think were also highlighted by many of the speakers today. One is about co-creation, co-production. I think it was Laurence who mentioned at the end that involvement of end users, bringing them together with scientists, is really key to close the last mile. That's something which also our projects, of course, are really dealing with. We will talk also about how to share knowledge, how to share, as I think it was Jana who called it that. So the open science, also the open knowledge mentioned by different speakers, Marin as well. So we will ask them how do they, what recommendations they have also in terms of, for example, the Geo Knowledge Hub, the GEOSS and so on, sharing experiences. And thirdly, about scaling up. I think the first speaker Claire already mentioned that we can start locally at national level, but at the end we also need to collaborate internationally. So this is also a point that we will discuss. So please join us at 9 tomorrow, and then we break up in the 4 parallel sessions as you see. And in the afternoon tomorrow, we have an invited session organized by the eShip Consortium on knowledge and technology transfer. So more looking into the IP aspects, IPR and so on, about really how can you, what would you take into consideration when you really are aiming at bringing a commercial product on the market. So it's really oriented to those who are doing that, to those projects, but also everyone else who is involved about what do you need to do into commercializing your EU product and service, and to really providing best practices for market entry. So see you all back tomorrow at 9, and we hope really for your active engagement and for open discussions. Thank you very much.